Hey,
Hey,
nice to meet you.
good to see you.
Great. Thank you for having time today. That's so great.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
We are writing for a while now. It was so exciting to finally meeting you. And I thought I will explain to you what the podcast is all about one more time.
Yeah, yeah.
Then probably you can tell me about your story. And you also just released some very interesting tracks, so maybe we can talk about that as well.
Cool,
And then just let the conversation flow.
cool. Sounds good.
Okay, cool. Well, so I'm Anna Anastasia. I'm originally from Ukraine. I'm living in Germany, and actually, I'm moving to the US in like 5 days or so. So
No way. Wow.
yeah,
Where?
to Seattle or the area of Seattle.
Oh, wow. Sweet. We'll be on the same. I'm in LA, so
Yeah, yeah,
you're on the West Coast with me.
yeah, and then we have a better time zone or a more similar one.
Exactly. Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah, yeah, extremely exciting. And last year I started this podcast, the Insanity podcast, which actually has a double meaning. So it's like insanity or probably insanity. I thought, well, there are so many things that sound crazy, but they actually aren't. Even like the concepts of non-duality, for example, or so many things that we are talking about and that we are sharing on the internet. And for many people who mm, didn't do research yet or who didn't go down this path, let's say, it might
Mhm.
sound crazy, but I think that this is the solution to so many things, actually, to so many fear and ego-based beliefs that
Mhm.
I thought maybe it's crazy, maybe it's not. We will see.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everything's like they say, truth goes through three stages. So it's always crazy, dismissed at first, and then it's just accepted. So it's like
Yes.
part of the structure of like kind of everything is like, yeah, you're the fringe at first, and then everyone jumps along and says, "Oh, everyone knows this." It's just how
Yeah.
the process of information kind of works. It's definitely a paradox, you know.
That's so interesting, right? Because I also see that in artists or scientists or so many people who nowadays we know they were speaking the truth. And where would we
Right.
be today without electricity or without this and that invention? And
Hmm.
back then it was so crazy and people were burned alive and I don't know what, just because they would kind of find out and would be the first ones to talk about it.
Yeah, isolation. No one wants to, or there's a fear about being like alone and isolated. Like, oh, it's only me talking about this. So yeah, the more when it becomes a small group, then it becomes like kind of starting to be like, okay, this isn't crazy. The bigger the
Yeah.
group, and then once it becomes like mainstream, then you
Hmm.
actually feel left out if you don't know this. Then it's
Right.
like then
Right.
they're the isolated ones, the ones that aren't up to speed about everything. So
Yes.
a lot of things flip, especially nowadays where time is accelerating.
Hmm.
Things don't have to go through this long 20-year process anymore. It could be like 2, 3 years
Finally.
of like this crazy new concept coming up, like AI or like new
Yeah.
technology, like even like Instagram, like or the internet or something like that. It
Yeah.
was hard
Yeah.
to imagine that in the 1980s, and now you tell a kid to imagine what life is without the internet, and they can't even fathom not having the internet. They say this is just who I am. This is like part of our nature.
Yeah.
But some of us do remember when there was no like internet per se, and it's just interesting to see the different generations of like how they just accept everything. Oh, that's always been the way. There's
Yeah.
always been
Yeah.
history, but it's relatively new. All this data and technology, and it's only going to get like skyrocket. Like
Isn't
especially
that
with our ET friends coming in the picture, we're going to be given a lot of technology that is going to blow our minds. But it's always there, and it makes sense to them. So technology is definitely a fascinating concept. They said like magic is kind of technology you don't understand.
yes,
So
yes.
basically, once we understand the technology, it's not magic anymore. So it's just being, yeah, technology is definitely part of the fun things we signed up for about this whole like first contact process and going through like why we're on Earth right now is going from like limitation to complete abundance in one lifetime.
That's extremely exciting. Yes, right. I agree. And I love what you just said about magic. I always say it like magic is science undiscovered, but I think it's basically the same thing. And
Mhm. Exactly.
yeah, that's so cool. Like show a cell phone to someone from, I don't know, like 1,000 years ago, or maybe even closer, and they would think you are like you're something else. So, but to them, it would be
Yeah,
crazy.
it's the proverbial like the magic ball, like all the Disney films and stuff. They look in, and that's what we're doing. We're looking into
Right?
a piece of glass, an
Yes.
iPhone. We're looking into glass and saying, or typing on Google, and so this is basically like the UFOs, like their ship is that concept that it's immediately accessible to them. That's how they can download information so fast, and like It's basically like an iPhone 3,000 years more advanced than our iPhone, which is their chip, which is it's a
Yeah,
whole communication system. So the iPhone and everything is very primitive. And I think it all stems originally from Roswell. I think they reverse engineered
really.
a lot. Yeah, I think we get computer chips from there. I think internet. I may be wrong, but I'm assuming a lot of things that became public, like the government, whatever the government doesn't need, it then goes public. Like, when it's outdated.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
the
Okay.
government had a lot of the stuff back in the 40s, and then it finally
Yeah.
hits the market like 40 years later after they say, "Oh, we have something more advanced now." But I think a lot of these technologies that we are using now were discovered off the Roswell crash, and they reverse engineered some of these things.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. I don't know too much about Roswell. That's so interesting because I of course I know that there was a happening and all that, but it's not so I would say so much public, or even maybe that's because I'm in Germany, so we don't have so many discussions about that, or not too many news about that, although I could look it up on the internet. But it always sounds a bit like, conspiracy. Is it true? Is it false? I personally believe that there's something to that, and I think it is too much of a point of discussion somehow that it's just made up or something. So there must be something to it. How did you learn about all that stuff?
Uh, I can't pinpoint exactly. It's funny, like how you learn. You kind of sometimes you know exactly where you learn it, but Roswell specifically, I'm not sure. I know you're a big fan of Bashar and Derelica, and that's my big
Yeah.
source for a lot of this stuff is coming through him. So it probably came from that.
Mhm.
But my understanding is in 1947, basically a gray ship, the Greys, extraterrestrials, they basically hit a lightning storm because there's kind of different factions of the Greys, more advanced, because
Yeah.
they're in different timelines. So there's like basically a primitive faction, a highly advanced one, and like something in between. But then they're all not in our timeline, so it's really confusing sometimes when you don't see a linear timeline. It
Right.
starts getting into all the science fiction movies about time travel and stuff. So basically,
Sure.
their technology was advanced enough where they could time travel, go back. But basically, at that time, their ship was a little more primitive, and it was actually prone to lightning. Now they're more advanced, and like the more advanced ET ships can basically never get hit by anything. They can, they can shift out of this reality and not get struck by the lightning. But basically,
Yeah.
this was a more primitive faction that apparently got struck by lightning. They messed up their system, and they crashed in Roswell, New Mexico, 1947. And then a big red flag, from what I understand, I believe that was in June or July. And then the CIA was created in September in America.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
That's an interesting, exactly.
Yes.
So that's I believe immediately what created the CIA is to cover that up and make sure anything related to this and all these movies, Men in Black, are like there's 50 to 100 Hollywood movies that are all portraying this about a
Yeah,
secret
yeah, yeah.
secret government program that is going to monitor extraterrestrial activity and kind of make sure that it doesn't get in the public.
Hmm.
So I believe that's why the CIA was created 3 months after Roswell. It's not a coincidence.
Yeah, yeah, I just wanted to say that sounds like an interesting coincidence somehow.
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
1947, CIA, Roswell. We had a bunch of different things going on, and it was really interesting. A month ago, I discovered some old Bashar tapes, and he basically said that was 1947 was our harmonic initiation, which I thought was really cool because that was what initiated us into this like down
Yeah.
this path. Is like Roswell is like knowing that these beings exist. Obviously, the masses didn't know; they still don't know. But a lot of firsthand evidence, a lot of government whistleblowers since 1947 and before. They said in World War One they found ships. This has been going on for
Years and
forever.
years and years and
Since,
forever,
since
forever,
300,000
probably. Yeah.
years ago. But in our
Yeah.
modern time, I'm saying our modern
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of thing, I think we could boil it down to 1947 was the start of kind of our initiation into basically the
Mm.
interstellar alliance, which takes basically 40-year cycles. Is like apparently the sine wave of our reality, it takes 40 years
Hmm.
to complete. So basically, a system will totally complete itself every 40 years, like completely change. So picture
Oh, interesting.
1947, right after
Hmm.
World War One, Two. Sorry, all these, brand new cars, the baby boomers were just coming out. And then picture 1987, how much changed. Now we have our first computers, we have internet, we have massive urbanization, we have skyscrapers. And now
Yeah,
picture
interesting.
1987 to 2020, it's coming up.
27.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why. Okay, that's why
We still
everyone's
didn't
always
have
talking.
cell phones, we didn't have Instagram. So basically every 40 years, we can assume that a civilization completely transforms itself. That's about the cycle. And it goes with that actually shifts and like the sine wave, and it's really interesting because Nikola Tesla knew this. I don't know if you've heard about the Philadelphia experiment.
No, I haven't.
Okay, so they basically transport a big warship, and they basically transported. I think it was California to Philadelphia. They basically took this thing, popped it out, and put it there. It was called the Philadelphia experiment. I don't know too much about it, but I know they were using the 40-year timelines as well, the cycles as well. And Tesla said, "Don't do it because you don't." There needed to be like a background noise of a shift, or else. Basically, what happened was the crew members came back stuck within the ship because everything was unlocked from this parallel reality. And basically, they went back, and there's some movies on this, but basically, they went back to I forget what year it happened, but it was exactly 40 years later. And then there's a couple cool movies about this. But yeah, that's like one aspect where I knew that they had to use the 40-year kind of
Interesting.
cycle to make it work, to time shift. So basically, if it was 1948, they came to 1988. But
I will look this up.
Said, don't do it. Yeah, look up the Philadelphia experiment. It's kind of crazy. They teleported a massive U.S. Navy ship through space and time, but like the crew members came back in the ship. It's crazy because it all got unplugged, and there was no reference point. So they all came back mad. They lost their minds, or they physically were dead. The hands were in the ships and stuff. Like, it's kind of wild to believe, but Nikola Tesla warned them not to do that for that reason. He said there's going to be no time kind of consistency. So you're all going to come back basically not this. You're going to come back. All the particles mesh together basically.
How was it reported afterwards?
Oh, I think they scrubbed it. This was top secret.
Okay.
I don't think they really made it out. But yeah, if you want to research that,
I definitely will. That's so interesting. Yeah.
So yeah, I know Bashar has said that we have physically teleported people, and I think he was referring to this and other things, but he said there has been consequences because we haven't been doing it right.
Sounds like yeah.
So that's one of the consequences of like the government and like all these secret programs, kind of not knowing the full picture and not knowing the full technology of things. Apparently, some of the researchers and some of the people involved in all these black budget kind of programs, they're actually not given. The ETs are actually withholding information too that they don't know. So basically, like they said, like we're not going to give like dynamite to a kindergartner, right, or fireworks.
Yeah.
So basically, like they said, our things are very advanced. Like we've reverse engineered a lot of stuff, and like we have very advanced. The government does. Of ships and stuff and UFOs, but they have never been able to do it multidimensionally yet. Because the ETs have actually withheld this information because they said you're basically there's gonna be consequences, negative consequences, if you start shifting multidimensionally, which is how like Bashar's ship works. He can pop out of this reality and be in a completely different reality. But the more primitive UFOs can pop out, but they wouldn't necessarily go to other timelines, other realities. So it'd be like going very fast to Mars, but not necessary to like Essassani or like some of these other extraterrestrial planets. So that has been withheld for that information is that basically it's not safe yet because they don't understand they're not spiritual enough, basically. They don't understand the whole concept of they were dreaming. Once you understand you're dreaming, then everything you can when you infuse consciousness into technology, things start making sense. So a lot of these scientists are still approaching it from we're physical, like
right, but isn't this exactly what we are doing right now by developing AI that becomes more and more conscious? Isn't this exactly this development that we are infusing kind of consciousness into it, or we let it become more and more conscious since it already is at some on some level? But
right, the whole concept is if like we let AI become truly conscious, like basically like we're kind of consciousness is coming through us naturally, right? So
Yeah.
consciousness is already there. The whole concept is consciousness is not in your body, that we're your
In
body's
it.
in your consciousness. Yeah. So
Yeah.
basically, if we allow a device for consciousness to come through naturally, that's called true intelligence, TI. And that's the
Yeah.
safest thing we can do. AI is when it's programmed by a human, and that's where it's
Mm.
able to be corrupted,
Mm.
manipulated. So AI, the whole concept is if we don't make it smart enough, then it can be dangerous, or they can, go against us. All these, science fiction movies about iRobot
Right, right.
going
Yeah.
against humanity. But that's if we don't make it smart enough. That's if it's being programmed by a human who's already limited.
Yes.
Eventually, we're going to just develop TI, which is going to be a device where a higher mind can come through. And this is exactly what most of the UFOs are, is actually higher mind in a physical representation. So the ship actually talks to the beings, and like you can ask it questions and stuff. So it's really interesting.
That's awesome. Could you give me another short summary about the definition of TI? Because I think that's so exciting. Like that sounds so interesting.
Yeah, that's developing a device where
Mhm.
consciousness, just like you and I, just like a cat or dog, like consciousness is coming through their vessel, kind of. As long as we develop a device that allows that to happen, where higher mind can
Yeah.
physically come through, and that's just a device to project. Well, higher mind's already there. Consciousness is already there. It's not creating it. Versus AI is actually programming something that's not completely conscious. It's always going to be stepped down. If it's AI, consciousness is programming it
Get it.
to
So,
then be
all right.
AI. If they're limited, then that AI is going to be limited.
I think I get it. So is it that AI, well, it sounds like AI is filtered through our ego-based beliefs or our fear-based
100%.
belief, like additionally through all our beliefs, but also the fear-based ones,
Exactly.
also through our ego. But the TI would be directly, like a direct infusion without
Yeah, like
our
belief systems, ego
persona
structures. Yeah,
in the
personas,
middle.
personalities. Exactly. It would be
Okay.
direct, unfiltered consciousness, which would be in our best interest because that sees
Yes.
things as whole systems. So it would never ever do anything to damage an individual because they know the individual is part of the whole system.
And how can we build this? I mean, wouldn't we rely on a higher intelligence already to build that? Because obviously we cannot escape our ego unless we are in constant flow and meditation. And I mean, this is what we are doing. We are kind of evolving into something that becomes more and more aligned and authentic.
Exactly.
And but we are not there yet. So do you think it
Yeah,
will take a
that's
lot of
going to be
time?
a little more in the future, probably 150, 200 years, maybe. The TI. AI can still be a great tool, which it will be. And it's not like dangerous or fear based at all.
Yeah.
But it's always going to be filtered, stepped down. It's not going to be the original source. It's going to be, it has to be programmed. That's why it's called artificial, right? But Bashar gave a little kind of hint into the future. He basically said they're going to be called servers, not like a servant, but a server, kind of like
Mhm.
an internet, but also a kind of a servant.
Mhm.
And they're going to basically be available for us, kind of like cyborg, like iRobots
Yeah.
that are going to be in service to humanity. But I believe this is still going to be AI, not true TI yet, until we figure out how to do that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's our own process. They basically we have to do this on our own. We're not going to be handed all these things. Like we still have to like open our own gifts and open our own presents. Um, so yeah, it's our own learning process. But basically, he said that there's kind of going to be something you put around your head, and you're going to have access to everything all at once, kind of like Google times
Yeah.
30,000, right?
Oh, for
Every
sure.
single
Yeah.
thing you're going to have basically, and then you can always take it off. He said this is like I think 80 to 100 years down the line, and that's going to have every single thing accessible, like all knowledge at the tip of our fingers. Kind of what Google is primitive, but definitely more interactive and more direct. And so
I
I think
love.
that's coming first, AI, and then TI shortly after that. After we get used to seeing how far we can take it as we, as humans program it. But like you said, we're getting more aligned, more and more conscious, more and more spiritual. So of course, that's going to reflect it. And the technology is only a reflection of the society at a time. So
Always, yeah. I also liked what you said about intelligence, or let's say that you said it. You said it's not smart enough, and I really like that because it aligns very much with my understanding of intelligence. That the smarter we get, the more inclusive we get, the more sustainable we become, the more
Yeah,
authentic and loving we actually become. Because so many people,
right.
I think they believe, oh, if we just get smarter and if our technology becomes smarter, then um, we will just eliminate ourselves from the planet. And I believe that's not true because I also don't think that this is smart. Obviously not, right?
Right.
So that's why this is probably just some sort of logical thinking that just gets out of control. But I
Yeah,
don't, for me, that's not really intelligence.
yeah.
Intelligence wouldn't extinct itself.
Right, 100% agree. Because that's only half. That's 50% smart. If you're just logical, if you're just using your brain, you're not thinking with your heart, which is the true. It's in the center of your body for a reason. So when we think with the heart, that's and the mind and everything as a whole system. That's where true higher intelligence is. Very simple. Love is simple. It's not like complex. It's not lost.
Yeah,
You don't have to study and read all these books. It's very, very simple about how a mother can care for her child, or you pet your dog or cat. Like that's extremely intelligent. What's going on when you share love with
hmm,
someone, and you're not thinking about it. You're not processing it. You're just petting your cat. You know what I'm saying?
right.
Like
Yeah,
that. It doesn't
for
have to
sure.
be very complicated more than that.
Yeah, I've
So
also
yeah, when we
experienced, yeah, I've also experienced that when I thought too hard about something, not always, but very often, I won't get to a solution that's really helpful. What
mm,
does help me like this is when I ask the question and before I think, before I have the chance to get the machine out here running, I will get the answer without, but I have to not think, I have to
mm.
stay to keep an empty space in my head.
Yeah. Yeah. The brain sometimes always wants to be in control, or
Hmm.
like the physical kind of mind.
For sure.
That's what we're getting used to, is relaxing that and really listening to the heart plus the brain. It's like you have to like kind of reward it like a puppy dog. Being like saying, okay, like don't worry about this. Like don't worry, like you're not losing control. I love the idea of surrender is
Hmm.
not giving up control. Surrender is acknowledging and accepting the control you already have. That's
Yes.
already built in. So when you surrender, this is not a negative or a disempowering thing. It's completely the opposite. It's saying I'm completely in control. Every single choice is based off the higher dimensions. And when you go to sleep, you do a lot of things. You go to the template, you make course corrections, adjustments, and then you wake up in the morning and be like, so that I think we do a lot of that in our sleep, is controlling what we actually experience. And then it will still be fun. It will still be a surprise. Like, we
Hmm.
don't, it would be so boring if we knew everything that was going to happen. So that's the fun part, is like template levels, like our dream state, our spirituality. But then our physical is like being on the roller coaster. It's like we don't
Right.
want to know when the next turn is coming up, because that would, or you don't want to know on the next movie if I spoil it for you. You want to watch the movie yourself and see the hero and the villain figure it out. So that's kind of like the fun part about physical reality. Is like we're always in control, always kind of know what we're doing from the spiritual side. But then the physical side, you think is happening in the moment, and you're experiencing it in the moment. It's like
Yeah.
the VR goggles. So that like paradox of like always trusting, but
Hmm.
always looking for the being excited for the next surprise. Don't expect anything. Like surprises are fun. Why would you want to know your
Yes.
birthday present? Everyone loves a present for a reason, because it's concealed. If you just got a present and it wasn't wrapped, it wouldn't be as fun for a kid.
Yeah, I love this. I have another question because I think that's so cool to actually be able to talk to someone about that because usually I don't do it too much. I have one person that I can reach out if it's about, I would say, ET stuff because
Yeah.
usually people they already don't expect from me to not be crazy. But let's say that's just not the usual topic in my environment right now.
Right,
What
right, right.
what is it like for you? Because you're an artist, you're a musician, so you are a little bit spacey also on your socials. But like, is it usual for you to talk about that?
um, I kind of figure out who's like on the level.
Hmm.
So I'm in Los Angeles, and there are a lot of people kind of on this wave. But
Hmm.
then there's definitely some that completely, you kind of figure it out. About like when
Yeah.
to pump the brakes, and when to release something. Some people are receptive, but yeah, I just hit a point during COVID. I started this page, the First Contact US,
Mm-hmm.
or it could, like your name, it could mean First Contact Us.
Us, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like First Contact Us. So I basically consider myself like an ET ambassador. When things start heating up, like I'm volunteering. Like I want to get this going, you know. So basically, I started this like during the heyday of COVID, where I just didn't care anymore. You know, I was like, I don't really care if like my associates think I'm wild. More in the music industry and stuff. And they're like you said, musicians are already like, we have the free card to be crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
so yeah, I was just like, let's start this page, and I was actually very surprised about how much people were ready for this.
Yeah.
Typically, like what I kind of saw was like it kind of starts in like meditation and like
Mm-hmm.
yoga communities,
Mm-hmm.
and then they start, and then all those people are easily like receptive to like the next thing, which is like extraterrestrials and stuff, and they usually already know like who the Pleiadians are and stuff like this. So I found out like a lot of people in the yoga meditation, even though they're not overtly talking about ETs, they either know about them or they're very receptive to learning, and like it's a no-brainer. They're like, oh, thanks for that, like let me learn more.
Mm-hmm.
So I discovered, and that's a lot of people in LA are doing yoga and meditating and spiritual. I know other parts around the world are not as on this level yet, but I think it would be encouraging to talk to people like that first, that are already meditating, already doing yoga. Maybe they don't know anything about extraterrestrials, but they know what the third eye is. They know crystals, you know. So I figured there's a lot of people out there that were like basically fiending for the next level, to be like, I need like more information what's going on. Like some people are just like, they were really willing to absorb a lot of the stuff that I was sharing from Bashar, is my main source of information. Kind of boiling it down through my perspective, like a normal American boy. Like, you know, I'm taking this information and just applying it my own way, in
Mm-hmm.
like my own thing, saying, hey, I'm not crazy. Like, this is cool now. Basically, like 10 years ago, it was still not cool. You're kind of looked at like, you know, I don't really want to go there. But now it's like really, really, I think
No.
it's the coolest thing in the world, because
Yeah.
like we're at a point where it's like Earth, like almost went down the road of the grays, where we were destroying the planet, and we're still not in the neck of the woods yet, but it's like much needed. Like we're desperate for this next step, for this
Mm-hmm.
information, for this clean technology, for healing technology, vibrational healing. It's going to wipe out all the hospitals, wipe out all the drugs. We're going to be able to heal our bodies with vibrations. We're going to be able to clean our planet almost overnight, 3 to 5 years, basically through vibrational technology, through stuff like that. And then free energy, electricity, it's going to be wiped off the planet. We're going to have free energy devices. Like, just in that little list solves so many issues, right? Of oil, of natural gas, of like pollution, of sickness, of hospitals that are basically not in the best interest of people. They usually give them stuff that is more dangerous. So I think right there it would alleviate massive amount of stuff that's going on. And then if people are healthy, happy, not polluted, then
Mm-hmm.
they're not going to be as willing to fight or be in war. So wars start drying up. Our diet's going to clean up. There's not going to be GMOs and all this stuff, because you say you're going to be lighter and healthier and happier. So you're not even going to want to consume toxins. So it's like this huge catalyst of like stuff that all
Yeah.
stems from this knowledge that is basically like someone asked Bashar, do they have toxins on their planet? He said, no, we're at such a high vibration where toxins can't exist. So basically, when you hit a vibration, when you or yourself and as fully as you can be living and happy and healthy, like health is just a side effect. You're just never ever sick. You can't contain toxins. Obviously, like we're dealing with a lot. Our air is polluted, our water is polluted, our food is polluted, people
Interesting.
around
Yes.
us are polluted,
Mm-hmm.
the 5G is polluted, until we tune our technology to basically the Schumann resonance. But right now it's not. So 5G even affects our work. So we're like the masters, truly like the Harvard, the Ivy League of going from negative to positive. We have everything weighing against us, and we're still doing this. So that's why a lot of beings look at us like heroes, because they're saying, wow, they have that much negativity. They're still pursuing it. They're still not giving up. They say our life is nothing compared to what they're doing. So that's one of the gifts we're giving other civilizations, is they're watching how limited we are and still going through it to the positive. and they say, wow, if they can do it, we can do anything.
Yeah, I just had an interesting thought when you said um, if you are in a different state of being, then you are not receptive for pollution, and we have so much of it. And I just this thought came to my mind. Well, at least we are not total pollution and have some grains of positivity or some grains of light. It's other way around. Obviously, we are the positive thing. Obviously, we are the light thing. That's
Mm.
why we can identify pollution so intensely.
Yeah, no, it really is crazy that what you put out, you get back, and like what you're the frequency of, you only perceive. So someone standing right next to you could be like going through hell, and like just because that's their state of being, they could be, getting all these toxins, all these pollutants, even standing next to you, and you could be like invincible just because you're claiming that in your aura, like it's not going to affect me. Maybe it does. Maybe you agree that tiny bits are going to affect you, and that's the fun game we signed up to.
Yeah,
Says, hey,
yeah.
we're going to incarnate on a polluted planet. Like, but I think a lot of it, like 95% can be remediated by just your state of being, by just saying, I'm not going to get sick. Like, even with COVID and stuff. Some people just
Yes,
said, I'm not ever going to get COVID, and they never got it
that's
without a
me.
vaccine or anything. Yeah.
Yes,
And then some people say, oh, you need this, and blah, blah, blah. And if
I
you just
totally said
believe it
that.
at first, that's like truly like someone right next to you can be the sickest thing in the world and say, you need all this, you need these drugs, you need to go to this hospital, you got to go to this doctor. And you're perfectly fine saying, no, I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't
It
need,
it
yeah,
was totally me. Since the beginning of COVID, I said to myself, like I've recognized, okay, there is something, this virus or whatever. I just looked at it without any panic, I wasn't afraid, nothing. I was just looking at it and I thought, don't need that things. Like
yeah,
really, like no, I won't get it. And this
right,
was my conviction. I didn't know why I was so convinced,
yeah,
but I just knew that's not my thing,
right.
and never got it, no matter how many people around me were actually sick.
Exactly. That's one example of like what you say goes. Because we're technically, not technically, literally all in different parallel realities.
Hmm.
You are in your completely whole universe in a parallel reality. I'm in my own, and
Hmm.
everyone's co-creating. So
Yeah,
you're
yeah, yeah.
creating your version of me. I'm creating your version of based off my beliefs, my systems. So you create every single person. So and like it's obvious if like you hang around certain people that are negative, they're creating their version of those people based off their negativity. Or if you
Hmm.
hang out with a 4-year-old, right? That 4-year-old's only going to see you as a 4-year-old. It's not going to know about all these advanced things or like sexuality yet, or problems or paying bills. It's only going to see you as playing,
Hmm.
or like a dog is only literally going to see you as another dog. Like they're creating their version of you,
Hmm.
or like a grandpa is only going to create that version of their sons or something, or a critical father, because he's only working what he believes about himself. So a lot of
Yeah,
the sometimes disconnect with our parents is they're creating us out of their version of what they did, which is totally, totally outdated.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, for
that's why
sure.
some of the critical parents and like saying they don't understand us, our generation and stuff, is because they're creating another version of them.
Yes, yes. Actually, not
It's
even of myself, but of them.
exactly
Yes.
they're
Mm.
talking to them, not so.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing is we're all doing that backwards to them. So I'm creating my version of my father. It's a total orchestration where we somehow meet in the middle and we call, hey, this is life. Like, it somehow meets in the middle. Or else it would be, if it was truly a 1-to-1, it'd be really boring saying I'm creating everyone and I'm just in this kind of illusion where everything's my creation. That's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
fun part is they're doing that to you. So it's not like this total like, you know, predictable thing, like a video game where it's truly like sometimes you're playing a video game, but then you'll get really really bored of that because you're like, okay, that's the same character and like that,
Yeah.
predictable, and this level is going to do exactly what that level is. And you can't just like make it right and create a whole new level. They have to go make a whole new video game for that. So
Yeah.
yeah, life is definitely exciting because it really is like a video game, except extremely extremely advanced and a
Hmm.
orchestration of people creating their version of you too. So
So funny because just this morning I was sharing something about this idea that life's a video game. I took it down again. It was a story And I really liked it. I really I liked the message, and that life has three stages was the idea of the story. It was that, yeah, life has three stages, and for stage number one is you are fully identified with your character. With the if you're in a video game, like, and you had a character, you would be fully identified with it. Stage
Mm,
number two would be that you realize that there is something else, and you start identifying as the player who
mm,
plays the character. And stage number three would be that you even transcend this, and you realize that you are the programmer, and you have an
mm,
effect on the framework of the game that you are creating yourself, and you can entirely change that. And I thought that was so
definitely.
cool. Yeah, I just took it down again because then I kind of researched on who the publisher was. I didn't fully align with the overall spiritual message and everything. Like, I thought, I don't know if I really want to promote the creator somehow, although this one was really, really, really cool, I thought. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, what I was saying about like our dream, when we dream, you basically go to the template level, is what it's called. And that's exactly what you're saying. That's where we become the programmer and we can make adjustments. Like basically everyone has a theme of what they want to explore in life. And you can course correct that. You can change your theme. You can do a lot of things in the template level dream state that when you wake up, you then experience. So
Yeah.
that's how you transform too. Is like a lot of people can transform overnight almost nowadays, because you basically say, okay, I'm going to go say I'm done with this, or like I want to be someone new. As soon as you plug those little belief systems up, you're immediately someone new. You don't have to
Yes.
wait 5 years to do this. You can
And we had
transform overnight from, and even with like addiction and stuff like that is a flick of a finger and you're changed.
100%.
Because that the craziest thing is, Bashar has said this, that's called the 13th step.
Hmm.
Some people's beliefs just can't, they won't allow them to do this. They think they have to go through 12 steps, and it's a long process for anything, a habit, an addiction, whatever you want to call habit. But they're all choices. Like, it's not
Hmm.
ever a habit or an addiction, it's a choice, right? And then the 13th step is to shift out of that. And then when you do that, you literally become a new person that's never ever had the habit or the addiction. Therefore,
Yes.
there's no cravings, there's no addictive personality, because that version of you never ever had it, never did the thing. That's
Yes.
literally the 13th step. And a lot of people, their belief systems won't let them do that because they say that's too easy, that's too, like, that's far fetched. That's,
Hmm. Hmm.
they think it has to be this long process of, you know,
It
I,
is.
I
It
need a
is too
long time to
easy.
change. Right, right, right. But yeah, you could be someone here the next day, a different person that never ever did the thing the person yesterday did. If you truly, you have to believe this though. You have to truly believe that this is actually the mechanism, and continuity is an illusion. That you are physically different people every single day.
Yes.
This
I
is
mean,
not like this is not schizophrenia or multiple personality.
no.
It's only multiple personality disorder if you can't harmonize it. So when you harmonize it, all it is multiple personality. And who doesn't want to have multiple personalities? Like,
We all have
it's
anyway.
desirable in Hollywood for actors, models, musicians. The more personalities the actor has, the bigger he is. You say, wow, he's playing all these roles, right? Versus a lower level, amateur actor is like typecast, or like, oh, he only plays that one role. He plays the cop in every movie, right? Versus like Angelina Jolie or Brad Pitt or something. You say, wow, they have all these personalities. It's actually desirable to have as many
A-
personalities.
and the audience is even getting disappointed when they find out, oh, you are not really like that. You are not really this persona that you are playing with Brad Pitt. That's too bad. So the audience gets disappointed. So we are celebrating it in this area, but in the other area, it's still a little bit criticized.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
like the craziest, most powerful thing I think a lot of people can understand is they truly are a completely different person. Not even every day. It's like the shift is 2 billion times a second. So by an hour-long conversation, we've been 20 billion different people
Yeah.
during one conversation. It's
But
just,
they are
we're
very,
just continuity. We're just creatively making it like a movie, like any director, like any artist. You creatively make it look like it's continuous.
yeah,
Versus playing the outro first, or like, you'd never watch the climax of the movie. Maybe you would, but some movies start with the climax. But you usually want to watch the beginning and then the end and then the middle. Say it's desirable to see a process of like
yes.
continuity. It's actually creative. So that's what we do. We're not actually going in a linear line. We're jumping all over the place, parallel reality, all over the place. and we assumed that was just 1 hour of me chatting with you on
Mm.
this earth in LA, in Germany. But it was actually bouncing up and down all over the place 2 billion times a second. And we're just agreeing that I'm sitting in the same chair. But it's
Yes.
not. I'm not in the same chair when I leave.
Yes.
It's crazy because like sometimes we do get sucked into the illusion like, oh, life is the same and just boring. And but if you know that, it's like, how can life be boring? If you know 2 billion times a second, you can be whoever you want to be. You can say, I want to be the biggest celebrity in the world. Like, if you really believe that, or I want to be a millionaire, like, you can literally do it. It depends on your belief system. The process is basically depends on your belief system. Say if it takes you 10 years, that was your belief system saying, I want to be a millionaire. It's going to take 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
If you truly, truly believe you can shift into that, it might take a month and you might somehow just find yourself in a parallel reality, the massive house and a Lamborghini. And like, yeah, and the more and more we kind of heat up and our vibration heats up on Earth, it makes it easier for us to do this. Say, I
Yeah.
want to be here. I want to be there. I want to have that car. I want to live by the beach. And if you truly, truly believe it, the universe cannot contradict that. It can't contradict you.
Yeah.
If you want that, that's right for you, you know?
I also think that it's beautiful that it is not instantly, because yes, we want to be this one thing, and I've wanted to be whatever thing for ages, let's say, and then
Mhm.
I want to just appear in this other place.
Mhm.
But I've also noticed during the last few weeks, maybe even months, that I think the way there is really cool and beautiful as well. So that I don't know how I get there. I don't know how exactly it works. And I think that's so cool because the path is so individual for each and everyone. And we are
Mhm.
kind of devaluing the path while saying, I want to be the millionaire. Like, are you
Mhm.
not curious, not excited to see how you will get there? Because isn't that the whole fun?
Exactly. And basically however long the process takes is exactly how long you need. It's a
Mhm.
perfect built-in system. So if
Yes.
it takes 5 years, that's exactly how long it needed for. And then I think it's called the Bashar says is the threshold of believability is a great test
Hmm.
about how strong your beliefs are, truly honest to yourself. So if you say I want to be somewhere, basically X, I want to be this place, you basically ask yourself, how long do I need to get there? You say 5 years, say no problem. I can do that in 5 years. 3 years, no problem. 1 year, as soon as you hesitate, that's how long you need
Wow, I
based on
love
your
it.
current belief systems. So if you change the beliefs, it might speed up. If you really analyze and say, oh, why would that take 1 year? Why can't it take 6 months? If you
And
really
now,
then get to your beliefs and say, you know what, maybe it can take 6 months. Maybe I got to change this about myself and do that and like maybe lessen this expectation, then do it again and be like, can you get there in 6 months? And then if you say, yeah, I can do 6 months, that's proof that you're now a new person with
yeah.
different beliefs. And it will only take 6 months for that person.
And,
And it might
and
have taken a year for the other person.
and now the big question I think for many will be, how do they change their belief system?
Beliefs to the blueprint to our reality, like light bulbs. So you
Hmm.
change it up. So maybe, for instance, maybe you say, wow, maybe I wasn't as confident in public speaking or something, but I just got through that fear and now I can do that. Now I can go get on this stage and do this. And that might accelerate by 4 months or
Hmm.
something like that. That might be one of the processes, or be like, maybe I'll go out and just help random people and introduce myself to random people on the street and say, hey, like, can I help you today or something? And maybe that would reveal, like, wow, I can get there 2 months faster than if I didn't do that.
Hmm.
Like stuff, and it's about being truly honest too. When you're totally honest with yourself, you know the difference
Hmm.
about projecting, and kind of like the whole concept is disguising anxiety as excitement and also dimming down your excitement because you're anxious or anxiety. So I'd be like, I really want to, get on stage in front of 1 million people, but then you're saying, oh, I have anxiety about that, so I don't really want to do that. It's safer to not do that.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah.
vice versa, if it really is your excitement, or if something is your anxiety, you may disguise it as excitement to be like, hey, I'm gonna just go, maybe I'm gonna like eat all night. I'm just gonna go to this restaurant, order as much food as I want because I'm feeling like I'm emotionally eating or something. And
Hmm.
I just want to just zone everything else out like that's basically saying, no, that's not actually the most exciting thing I want to do. The most exciting thing is actually being vegan and, like eating light, but I'm going to go eat a
Right,
bunch of
right.
cheesecake.
Yeah.
Like the cheesecake is your anxiety that you're saying, oh, I'm so excited to eat cheesecake. Like that's one example of like, that's not really, really what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
You're
So,
disguising
so
your excitement. So when you're honest with yourself, you
yeah.
truly do know the difference. Like, am I totally excited to do this or to take all these drugs? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
is that really my excitement, or is that because I'm anxious and I have anxiety about something and I don't want to look at that? So let me distract myself with all this other stuff, with all
Yes.
these very things on earth that are distracting sometimes. You know?
Yeah, so it's basically means to clean up the headspace. So that's how we can work on our beliefs. It can be through, it must be through honesty, through separation between what's excitement and what is not.
Mhm.
And if we just follow through and if we just do valued actions or something, like if we just follow this excitement, then we get more confidence over time, and
Exactly.
the belief system can change. Like I also know people who do it with affirmations, for example. So Louis Hay is a wonderful example who would give affirmation techniques, so you can just say things to yourself or even write your own stuff that kind of change your body chemistry.
Mm.
And because you listen to words that make you feel the thing that you need to feel, and then you start believing it because you hear it over and over again. So you start
Mm.
believing it, you start believing it in your body, and then your whole belief system changes. Like if you tell yourself the story, I'm healthy, I'm happy, and all that,
Mm.
and but with you choose the words that you resonate with, of course, then you will believe it.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're familiar with like cymatics and how
Yeah, yeah.
words affect water and stuff. Okay,
Yes.
so we're 70% water.
Hmm.
So they've taken photos of water when you say "I hate you," and it looks
Hmm.
a certain photo, versus "I love you," and the water literally looks a different photo.
Yeah.
So it's exactly what you're saying. You literally program your whole water for 70% water. You say "I love you," like you deserve this. You deserve
Yeah.
confidence, love, health. All your subatomic molecules are going to line up to that, and you're just going to be healthy, loving. But if people say, I hate myself, I don't deserve this, they're changing the photo in their body,
Hmm.
and all of a sudden, oh, what do you know, they're sick, or what do you know, they got in a car accident or something.
Yeah.
It's like truly that simple that we create our down to the T. We're creating our own reality, and when you're conscious of that, a lot of people just don't know they're creating their reality. They'll just go ahead and kind of just plug away and be like, oh, why did this happen to me? Why did this accident happen to me? You know, why, like, you play the victim card. Like, why am I a victim? The victim mentality. And then that just makes it even worse. Now you're down the victim cycle that you can't, it's like almost a trap. You can't get out. Um, so yeah, it's no joke being on Earth. Like, we signed up for a tough level, you know?
Right.
And some people, like, the beautiful thing is you never die. So some people that really, really just can't deal with it, they just wake up in
Hmm.
spirit. If you die,
Right.
so what? You wake up in spirit and you play another game. You say, I'm going to incarnate in a system that's a little less negative. Or you come back and just like, you say, let me do over. It's exactly like a video game.
We do it
You can't
again.
never die.
Did you have certain, let's say, personal experiences? I mean, I know that you did have because you once talked about it already, but would you like to tell about it or, yeah, to speak about it right now? What experiences you had that were a little bit more spacey, maybe extraterrestrial?
The closest sighting I've had was in California, about 2 hours north of LA, this little town called Pismo Beach. 2021, so 3 years ago. But basically, my brother and I were standing on the cliffs watching dolphins and whales, which we already know are connected to Sirius. So basically, the whales were it was really, really cool. They were kind of bringing all the fish, and they were making a wall, bringing all the fish in, and then the dolphins were eating. So they were helping, and then the birds were getting the scraps. So it's a
Hmm.
massive portal of the whales making a wall to have the fish be available for the dolphins. And every time like something eats something, it's always a co-creation. So
Hmm.
like it's not death. When a dolphin eats a fish, it's just you can say what you want about that. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like we were watching this process basically.
yeah. Hmm.
The whales pushing into things, the dolphins eating it, and then the birds coming down. So it's this massive vortex over the sunset, and
Wow.
we were on like some psychedelics, some magic mushrooms. I don't know
Yeah.
if you've ever delved into this, but basically the whole cliff turned into like a Native American chief
Hmm.
as we were kind of tripping, and like the whole thing was a Native American chief, all this stuff, whales, dolphins. All of a sudden, from the back of us was a huge fireball out of the sky, massive fireball. We didn't even think, we thought we were dreaming, right?
Mm.
Massive fireball comes out of the sky, and then boom, right, and then plops right in front, about a mile away. A ship with blinking all sorts of beautiful rainbow lights, probably about a mile and a half off the coast. And
And both
I
of you
know,
saw that.
yeah, and like about 8 or 9 other people. Massive, massive blinking lights, orange, red, like all the colors of the rainbow. I know it was the Yahel because we're in Yahel territory. So the Yahel are going to be the first hybrid civilization to have open contact with us. They were the Phoenix Lights in 1997.
Hmm.
If you want to research that about the Phoenix
Yeah.
Lights in 1997, so some 30,000 people witnessed this. Basically, that was a test of how ready we are. That was all the way back in 1997. They showed themselves massive, massive ships. Um, so yeah, that was the closest sighting we've had, and then it stayed on the beach like all night, for 4 or 5 hours,
How interesting. Was
sitting there
this
blinking, and then just kind of slowly just faded off. Like after it was like 1 or 2 a.m.
that you could be entirely sober because you're saying, okay, first of all, both of you were seeing this, and second, there were 8 or 9 other people. So I mean, this is
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it doesn't even matter if you like
Oh, it
So
was just
it's
the
just
craziest, beautiful experience. And then right before that, in the news, they were saying there's a lot of sightings off the Central Coast. That's what it's called, California. There's a lot of
yeah.
army bases around there. There's a lot. Area
Oh.
51 is around us.
Oh.
Yeah, this is a huge highway of interdimensional highways. Um, Sedona,
Wow.
LA, Mount Shasta. So you're moving to definitely a powerful West Coast little portal.
Yes, do
All,
I?
all up and down, there's gonna be a lot of activity. Like it's just about like the whole concept is they're always there. They've always been there. It's just we haven't been aligned and tuned to their frequency. So once you tune to their frequency, you perceive what's already going on. It's like there's a massive
Yeah.
airport over our head. It's just you weren't the vibration to necessarily perceive them yet because they're high vibrational. So once you hit that frequency, then you're just seeing what's already been going on. It's not like this is. It's just new in our culture and in
It-
our kind of like in our process of going through this. But none of this is really new to them. Like they're just saying, hey, we're just traveling, and this happens to be an interdimensional vortex it's just like an airport. Like I had to go there to go to Pleiades, so
Yeah, I actually would like to share my story with you because
mm,
I've also seen some crazy things
cool,
and
cool.
I haven't talked about it too much yet. And I
Yeah,
think this is
please.
like this feels like my coming out, but I would really like to do that somehow.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So I mean, in front of my window, I did see stuff frequently, but I just felt very peaceful about it and I didn't question it too much. And by the way, I've never questioned the existence of extraterrestrial life. Never, ever, ever. Even when I was little, like for me, that was the most
Hmm,
normal thing. Like if you would ask me, like, does it exist? I would have said, yeah, why not?
hmm.
Like also not really
Right.
crazy about it, but just yeah, sure. And
Okay.
yeah, and I was seeing these lights in front of my window, and I thought, okay. And I was even zooming in once I had a better phone than right now, and I really had a good zoom function, and there were things flying around, and I thought, okay, that's interesting. And then a friend of mine was visiting me here, and I wasn't at home. And when I came back, she said, "Do you actually know what's going on in front of your house?" Like, so she saw it too, and I said, "Yeah, yeah," but
Nice.
we didn't even talk about it too much. I just confirmed that, yeah, yeah, there's
Someone
something
else
going
saw
on.
it.
Yeah, and then like the last or 2 years ago, I think I started getting really intense dreams of let's say meetings or something, and
Mhm.
I didn't back then I didn't really know where to put it or what to think about it, but I would see things in my dreams that felt way more intense than usual dreams. And also um the first time I've experienced something like language with words that I didn't understand but I knew what they meant. And I
Mhm.
didn't know at that time that, oh, it's a thing on the internet and people are talking about that kind of stuff and they're calling it whatever, light language. I don't know. Like I haven't been in the community, so I didn't know that. And I simply had the experience and I thought, how interesting is it that I know what they are saying, but I don't speak the language and I kind of get the whole information set. And then there was a physical experience and like encounter. I cannot even explain what it was like, but I was in a spaceship and like but physically and it was not a dream. I'm sure it was not a dream. Like that was so crazy. And um there were interesting things going on. Like first of all, I thought while it was happening, like, oh god, I will probably see extraterrestrials. Like what will they look like, oh my god. So I was excited and a little bit scared, but then also not too much scared, like a weird excited feeling. And then
Mhm.
um I was so surprised. It was not what I expected, let's say.
Mhm.
So they were like teenagers. It was also fun, and I remember that the idea was, or there was a project, and they actually needed something from me physically. So like taking something from my body or putting something in. I don't know, but I think it was taking something, and I agreed. So it was really fine for me. I just also said it's because the requirement was that I probably won't remember afterwards. And I said that's totally fine. So it was totally peaceful, all good.
Nice.
What I also remember, and now it gets really, really funny, is that when I just entered this room, or one part of the room, that there was like this, this bed, or I don't know how you call it, where you have patients on it, so you will do some surgery on it, so that kind of room. And there were three little grays. I don't even know how else I should call them, but they looked like grays. They were really little, like probably like that, so smaller
Mhm.
than a average human being. They had
Nice.
really high voices, and they were like, "Arr!"
Mhm.
and a week after, there were this archaeology foundings. People were searching something or finding something in the ground, and they would find these kind of. You remember this? These news where people found these kind of beings or leftovers or whatever, and they said that looks like extraterrestrial, but
Mhm.
yeah, not sure what this is. And I was watching the news and I just looked at it and I thought, like, why did I see this before? Like I definitely saw this. Then they found a second one, but they didn't find the third one yet. So I remember myself seeing three of them, but on the news we just saw two. So
Mhm.
no idea. And I remember that it was torturing me for days. And I was thinking like, why? But why did I see them like in real life? And now they are yeah, some bones or some leftovers. I don't even know, but you can just still recognize them. And I was thinking. And then at some point it came to me like, that's humor. I see. Thanks.
Mhm.
You know?
Wow, that's pretty epic. But yeah, a lot of us have agreed to basically like the whole concept with the Greys. I'm sure you're familiar. Is they lost
Yeah.
the ability to reproduce by destroying their planet. They had to go underground. They tried to clone themselves, it didn't work, so they needed viability in it. So a lot of us signed up to help basically repopulate their system, and this turned into 5 hybrid races. We're becoming the sixth, and all six are going to blend into the seventh over the next 1,000 years. That's kind of the timeline. So yeah, you gave some DNA, and you definitely have hybrid children,
You
and
told me
it's
already. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
it's it, I think the craziest part is like the illusion of forgetting. Like you never truly forget the experience. So a
yeah.
lot of it will be in a parallel. It'll be quasi physical, is what
Hmm.
is kind of been described. Is not totally in our reality. So when you say it was physical, like it
Yeah.
was real, it was 100% real, but it was also half dream-like, half of our waking reality. And they do that for a buffer to like buffer our ego a little bit, so our fight or flight isn't as strong as if it was happening on Earth in Germany. Maybe maybe like your fight or flight would have kicked in if it was totally our reality. So we do this in a quasi reality, half theirs, half dreamlike, half ours.
Interesting.
And then to relax the fight or flight a little bit.
But it
But
felt
it's
so
100% real
real.
and
Yeah.
100% real. Yeah, I've had a couple, 3 or 4 really powerful, memorable stuff,
Hmm.
and the only thing I can remember when I wake up is it's a mix of a cruise ship, a plane, and a school. So anytime there's usually if there's like a school involved, obviously a plane or a cruise ship, and then if there's like a hospital stuff, like you said, hospital
Yeah,
surgery, these
yeah,
are
yeah.
telltale signs that you're involved in the hybridization program.
That's
So,
so crazy.
so congrats.
And then this group of kids, like I didn't expect that at all. And I was like the oldest one, it felt like,
Oh,
and they
wow.
were so awesome. And
Did they
we
have
could
bigger eyes or were they human?
just like humans.
Okay, okay. Yeah. They either, I think, were the hybrid children, and that's what you remember them as straight human, because they can cloak. It's called screen memories. So a lot of times they'll put a memory in place of what actually happened. So you might just be remembering them as normal, but they might have been straight up hybrid children,
Hmm.
or they were other people giving DNA, like from Earth, that maybe all signed
Maybe,
up.
but they looked normal. I think that they had some um, little physical differences, some of them, but they were very small and almost invisible. They would just show me things, for example, but they wouldn't be visible if you just look them in their face, or not so much. Or I don't
Mhm.
remember. Maybe the
But
eyes
I'm
were,
pretty sure that all hybrid children you're interacting
but
with.
they were actually really teenies and like older teenagers already. So not like 12, I would say maybe
Oh
around
yeah, no,
14,
that's
15,
about the age.
older.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
definitely. Um, so
or
basically the
16.
children that, yeah,
Mm,
that's exactly the age of
mm,
the beings that are going to come down to Earth first. Apparently, which is badass. Like there's 333 of them.
mm,
333. They're going to come as the first wave. So Sedona, I think Sedona, maybe Maui, but there's going to be small enclaves where they come down to. And basically, 300. Bashar said 333 of them are going to be the first wave. So that's pretty exciting that those 333 are like legends of the first extraterrestrial hybrids to
interesting.
ever live on Earth. Like we're hybridized and we're like, but you know,
Mm,
we were born on Earth. This is the difference. They were physically born on the ships
mm-hmm.
and now living on Earth. There's a difference. Everyone, you know, I always make a joke that I'm alien and extraterrestrial. And to some extent that's true because we're hybridized. We have higher amounts of extraterrestrial DNA. But I know I was physically born in New York City, you know, on this date and like so that's where you can use it as a metaphor, but this is now physically going to happen. Beings that
Mm-hmm.
were not born on Earth, physically living, interacting with us.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometime between 2027 ish to 2030 ish. A lot of us have been really, really getting ready for this, kind of, you know, preparing and then thinking it's taking forever and like slow, like let's, you know, slow. And then that's how exponential charts work. And then all of a sudden,
Can't wait.
kind of come out of nowhere, yeah. And then everyone's gonna be kind of diving in to like find people like us to get them briefed and like, okay, what's
Mm.
going on? Like I need help. Like tell me what's going on, basically. Because the government, my teachers didn't tell me, my government didn't tell me. You know,
I think that's so interesting that
this is this is how first contact is happening is grassroots through people like us, through like normal loving people is how it's going to happen. It's not going to government disclosure will happen from top down about what they've already known, but they're kind of still very resistant and kind of a lot of politics and a lot of too much things going on. So the faster that we do grassroots, the easier it is to be like, oh, here's what happened. And we're going to say, duh. When the government
yeah.
formally gives disclosure,
Yeah.
we say, bro, we already knew this.
I already feel like that, to be honest, because every time there are some articles, or even also there were news articles during the last few months that there were like revelations or whatever, and every time I was reading it, I thought,
Oh, yeah. It's
but-
like
yeah,
already been there. Yeah,
but
that's more for like our parents' generation, kind of people that need confirmation from traditional sources like news and kind of. I think our generation is less and less programmed like that, like where we know that's programming.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
why
I
it's
mean,
called. That's why it's called. You watch a TV program. It's literally, quite literally, you're being
right,
programmed.
for sure.
Oh,
I,
yeah.
I just also have the feeling that it's like the whole topic is so heavy, it's like so heavy on our shoulders, and people are so they are fearful, or they don't know how to handle it, and then there are like, and then there's the government that will probably take hold the information back, and it's like it sounds so dramatic, everything.
Hmm.
And my actual feeling and experience is it's actually kind of fun because there is so much humor around this whole topic. And another thing was that right after it happened, few days, maybe week or so, 2 max. And then my husband right now, but at that time we were just starting to get to know each other, and he asked me if I have a picture from when I was a kid. And I thought, oh, okay, I have to search for one. And then I searched for my pictures, searched through my photo albums. And while I was searching, a picture fell out. Like it directly fell out of my photo album. And it was me being a teenager in a, like, how do you call them? Like a Disneyland kind of thing. But it was not Disneyland, but something else. I was hugging an alien, so someone in an alien costume, and this was the picture that fell out just like a few days after. And I was just laughing, and I thought, yeah, of course. What else?
Yeah, that's the beauty of synchronicity. That's the big word, synchronicity. That's the key. When stuff like that happens, it's basically saying you're on the right path. You're in the right state of being. Every time you see a synchronistic moment, coincidence, that's saying continue in that path, stay in that state of being.
Yeah.
That's where the magic is. You're in your vortex. You're in the portal. Or like we said, you can't get sick. You can't have toxins. Nothing negative can affect you. Like you're in your bubble.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's synchronicity is always like a guidepost saying like, hey, you're on the right highway. So that's a great story.
Yeah, and it happens all the time. I also love it that Bashar says if you would just pay attention, and if you would just, open up to it more, you would just be overwhelmed.
A lot of them are very humorous and use humor as communication.
Yeah.
And like you said, a lot of them, or none of them, some of them learn English just to communicate with us, but they're telepathic. So like you were saying about understanding everything they were saying in the dream.
Yeah.
Without speaking them, that was straight up telepathic downloads. So that's why we have to raise our vibration, because we're not going to necessarily communicate like this. You'll be able to look at them and immediately have a whole novel of information or communication with just by a 3-second look, maybe, with them never even talking. So this is how, like Bashar said, their planet is very quiet because they're all telepathic.
Yeah.
But he also said this doesn't mean that we're not laughing all the time, and they're always making music. They're always playing music. They're just not talking back and forth. He said, don't misunderstand it. It's not quiet in that sense. We're constantly laughing, constantly making music, constantly playing music, having like that. He's a sculptor, making art. So creativity is like the higher, more advanced you are, creativity is every single day, and then less talky.
Speaking about music, could you tell me more about yours and what you are doing?
Yeah, so I'm an identical twin. So we have a duo. And basically, it's kind of multi-genre, dancey, but also we play guitar and we've grown up in that kind of rock world. So we can't kind of, even sometimes we try to move away from that, and it's always our nature to be like more of a rock, guitar, live band. Not really like, we understand DJs and stuff like that, and like that's the sound and the aesthetic is like a modern DJ sound, but with like rock and people performing it. No offense to DJs, but we love actually performing, kind of creating the music on the spot, opposed to pressing play, which nowadays has become way, way more the trend. Even some of these massive tours selling out stadiums, they're just pressing play on an MP3. So that's, but so yeah, multi-genre. We just came out with a project 2 weeks ago, and the theme is space, extraterrestrials, cosmic kind of vibes. And that's kind of the overall brand, is just like we resonate the most with, out of all the civilizations, the Pleiadians. I think I told you have pretty high Pleiadian DNA. So yeah, we're kind of like Pleiadian hybrids, and this is what our music sounds like. And then we've never really like sticking into a genre and like being forced into a box. We've hated genres because it's just frequencies and vibrations to us. So I hate saying like, oh, I have to be EDM or a DJ or house or tech house. Like, especially in EDM, there's so many different genres that I just don't absorb. Like, I don't even know the difference. So it's just, we say electronic. We're basically an electronic duo. That's all we can say about our genre is electronic, modern, kind of futuristic vibes. But with core concepts and kind of like hidden concepts within there that if you don't know anything about ETs, it makes sense. Like, oh, they're singing about love or something. But if you do know, it's like a double meaning. Like, oh, that makes sense to first contact, and it makes sense for a kid that doesn't know anything about ETs. So that challenge to like do that lyrically is always what we shoot for. It doesn't make sense for a third dimensional human that knows nothing about ETs and just like loves music, and doesn't make sense for someone that knows everything about
Mhm,
Pleiades and
mhm,
Sirians and Arcturians and can we be cryptic with that without being corny?
mhm,
Without
mhm.
being too like,
Yes.
hey, we're singing about aliens. There's like we like to kind of be a little more cryptic in that it does
Mhm.
make sense. And then just loving kind of never curse, never that's like a strict for us. Never I'm sure music is pretty disgusting nowadays with what they're showing to like 13-year-olds, Nicki Minaj lyrics talking about her, you know what? So yeah,
I don't even know. I'm not listening so hard to it. I'm
exactly.
like,
Yeah, it can be pretty vulgar.
yeah.
But yeah, so kind of just like that mixed with the ET page. I used to think they were kind of segmented, the first contact and our music, but I know it's completely blended. And we
Mhm,
want to
mhm.
perform when first contact's going on and have ETs above us as we're performing. So yeah, we're just
Okay.
continuing to follow our segment with no expectation, have the music find its way to the people who are aligned with us, as well as just normal fans, like I said, like they know nothing about ETs. Eventually that all merges into like these massive ET events and like kind of like the Burning Man and the Coachella.
Oh, that
I
would
think
be
they're all going to
so
get.
cool.
I
Yeah.
think they're all going to get more and more aligned towards first contact and spirituality, and like less like Ticketmaster, less top down from these corporations. I think they're going to become more and more kind of almost uncontrollable, like people getting together. Because right now it like does kind of Live Nation and Ticketmaster and stuff, like they are kind of a monopoly and like the
Mhm.
mafia of who they put on, and like it
Right.
is, especially after COVID, still hard to get people out and like to free events where they don't have to pay $85 for one ticket. So like free events, I think are gonna really really be important. People like coming together as like still there for the concert, but that's almost secondary. That's almost
Mhm.
like, right now people are like there just to see the celebrity, oh my God, I want to see the weekend, like
Yeah.
salivating over him. Opposed to like, oh, first contact's going on and there happens to be music playing. I think that's
Mhm.
gonna be more of like where I would prefer to see it going as just a whole event. Less like, oh my God, everyone's on their phone, not even
Not even
observing
more.
the concert because they're too concerned about being on TikTok to
Yeah,
get the
yeah.
footage to brag to their friends that, oh my God, that's Dua
Mhm.
Lipa or whatever, Beyonce right there. And they're not even like they say, "Wow, did I even remember the concert? I don't
Mhm.
remember the music because I was on my phone the whole time." So
Yeah.
yeah, I would like to see more and more like massive events where people are just like making art and like, oh, if you want to enjoy the band, of course, like yeah, if you want to get footage of
Beautiful.
bands. But right now, it's like from my perspective of the music industry, they've cut out more and more independent artists. They make it way way harder. You have to go top
Mm.
down through the massive labels to get onto these massive tours, and that's all owned by Live Nation,
Mm.
kind of Ticketmaster, and like yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully all this becomes more grassroots, especially that COVID is like officially done. Like I think more and more festivals is where it's going to happen. All of a sudden, a UFO is going to come out of nowhere, and 100,000 people are going to see it. No questions asked. No
Mhm.
conspiracies asked. They're saying I saw this. 100,000 people saw it, and
Yeah.
it's
What are you gonna do
online.
about it?
For
Yeah.
5 million.
Right.
So yeah, I guess we'll leave off at as Bashar has said on his channel that at the end of 2026, beginning 2027, there will be a mass sighting, a mass contact event. But he said, don't read into this about why it's going to happen. So that's like the
Mhm.
big kind of preference, like dot dot dot.
Mm.
So it might be because of a negative reason, either on the verge of two countries going to nuclear war or something like that, that they're physically going to have to like step in and show themselves. So there's a couple speculations.
Can also be
But
something
he
very
said around
positive.
2027, he said there will be. He said the whole world will be aware of this event. So that's so
Oh
exciting to
God.
me. That's
I
like the
just
light at the end of the tunnel. That's like finally tight deadline. Do all our work we can do of spirituality and like getting our vibrations up. Kind of share as much knowledge as we can with other people that are receptive to it. Let everyone else figure where they have to go, parallel reality wise, and then be ready because that's going to happen. And then right after that, all the dominoes are going to fall towards always the projected date was around 2033 of
yeah.
official open contact. So
Yeah.
it's coming quick. we got 9 years, you know?
Well, I think thank you so much. It was really awesome talking to you and so interesting to learn about you and what you're doing. And yeah, just a
Yeah,
great
same, and
conversation.
thanks so much for creating this kind of space for us crazy people to talk about this. Because
Finally,
eventually it's
a
going to be a
space for
cool
us.
thing. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Keep inviting all the,
yeah,
like-minded people, and you'll just bubble into this little portal of kind of like spot to go. So definitely appreciate it.
right. Yeah, and we stay in touch anyway. I mean, we message anyway, and it's always so interesting to follow your channel. So I will put all the links in the description of the podcast of the episode, so people can check your channels out and probably also learn a little bit more about the upcoming events.
Yes, should be exciting. Buckle up.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Austin.
All right, have a great day. Thank you.
You too. Bye.